Hello everyone, this video is a presentation of paper number 3 and introducing the paper and its requirements to you, as well as getting you started on your brainstorming doc, the process doc for this paper. So I want to point out a few things to you on Classroom. In the paper 3 information materials, you will find the college synthesis paper prompt. So this is the assignment sheet for the paper. You will also find a list of essential questions. You will find a source list that contains all the sources that are pre-approved for this paper. And then of course your process doc, and this video will include instructions on how to complete the first phase of that process doc, some brainstorming in response to the questions. So I'd actually like to start with the list of essential questions. So essential questions are sort of guiding questions for the unit, and all of the sources that are in the source bank, including the sources that we've already talked about as a class, respond or relate in some way to one or more of these questions. And your paper as well will make an argument and allow a discussion to occur about one or more of these questions. And so also on Classroom, you will want to check out the paper prompt here. So first of all, it's important to note that this is a synthesis paper. There's another lesson about what specifically synthesis is and going into the details of how to do synthesis correctly and what is the concept. But what you need to know for now, as you're looking through this, is that it's a paper with multiple sources in it, where you're allowing those sources to interact and converse and discuss amongst themselves, sort of. So you're sort of facilitating a conversation with multiple sources. So you're going to incorporate multiple sources, but it's really important to know as well that you are going to have your own thesis and be making your own argument in this paper. So it should be a position you've developed, not necessarily what you thought coming into the unit, although that may also be true, but the position you've developed after reading several sources from different perspectives on the essential questions that you know you want to focus on. You also want to avoid giving an overly obvious or generic thesis statement. You want your point to be original and interesting. It's also very important to note that you should not be Googling or researching this topic for ideas or for sources. You will use sources specifically from the source list that's provided here. All of the sources are previously vetted. There are multiple different perspectives and arguments within these sources, so you should find multiple different types of perspectives. So unless you have explicit permission because you've checked with me first, you will use from the source list. The requirements are posted here. You will use 3 to 4 sources. One of those will be Dereshowitz. Everybody will be using Dereshowitz. You can think of this essay as a response to Dereshowitz. So you will include a longer summary of the source, and you will respond in a particular way, and then incorporate other sources into that response and that discussion as well. You can find the other requirements here on the page. And then I want you to notice here a suggested paper structure as well. So it details what the introduction should do, what the thesis should do, what the body paragraphs will do, as well as some reminders about incorporating quotations and using sources in a mature and sophisticated way, what the conclusion would look like, and this will have an MLA Works cited page. We will have a particular lesson specifically on how to put that works cited page together. And then finally down here is an example structure. So this is just how it might be structured, one particular one, but you're going to have to make a lot of organizational and structural choices that suit your own paper. So those are posted under paper number 3 information. I'd also like to point out to you the source list here. If you click that open, you will find the sources that are pre-approved and in the source bank here. Most of them are linked to sources. So we have Dereshowitz, the chapter from the book, but the rest you can see there's a link to the article. Lots of different types of sources, lots of different perspectives here. There's also on this some information about how to format each of these sources on your works cited list, and some reminders about good source usage. So here's what I'd like for you to do on the process doc for this week. The purpose here is just to get you started thinking about some ways that you might respond to some of these essential questions. So you're going to read through the essential questions list, and I want you to choose 2 or 3 that really stand out to you, that you think are important questions, that you have some sort of response to, that you think are interesting to think about. Take those 2 to 3 questions and copy and paste them in the process doc box, okay? So if you are looking here at Classroom, You're going to open up the process doc. So remember, first of all, the essential questions are here under paper number 3, information. Excuse me, when you open up the process doc, you will find the first box here. So you're going to take the 2 to 3 questions that you want to focus on most from the list and paste them, just copy and paste them here. Then underneath each of those questions, I want you to do some brainstorming in response to that question. So I want you to try a couple different ways of brainstorming. Maybe you like to do a cluster and you can use Google Drawings for that. Maybe you want to do free writing where you just sort of type everything you have to say about it, all of your thoughts about it, get them down. Maybe you could do outlining or listing. So, you know, the textbook had some ideas for how to go about brainstorming. So try a couple different ways of brainstorming in response to those. You're just trying to get some ideas out there. Keep in mind that minimal brainstorming will not receive full points. So if you only have a few phrases, or if you haven't really shown deep thought about the questions yet, you will not be able to receive full credit. I really want you to try to stretch and think deeply about these. So show me that, please. And also try to think beyond what first comes to mind, because if it comes to your mind first, it's probably coming to other people's mind first as well. And I'm going to have several essays over the same type of response. I want you to keep going, right? Think deeply. Think about the why behind what you're saying or the how behind what you're saying to stretch your brain a little bit. So that's the introduction to this paper, the general concept. Let me know if you have any questions as you get started on looking through the essential questions, reading that doc more carefully, and getting started with your brainstorming.